You're about to listen to a BBC podcast, and maybe it's one I had a hand in. I'm Tammy Walker, and I produce podcasts for the BBC. My role is to give new and diverse creators a voice with the opportunity to build a career. That's the thing I love about podcasts. You start with just a good idea, but then you have the space to see where it goes. And doing that at the BBC means we can really run with the best stories while developing the most unique audio talent. So if you like what you hear, why not check out the huge range of podcasts we've got on BBC Sounds?
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. As we record, it's the start of the winter break in the Scottish Premiership, so it feels like a natural point to pause and take stock of things. We're publishing mid-season report cards for all 12 top-flight teams. That will tell you all you need to know about where they are and how they got there. And this episode is dedicated to the side currently sitting second in the Premiership, Rangers.
Early ball in, the header down, and in it goes! Danilo scores! Lammers at the edge of the box, what a goal! Sima goal! Rangers in front, and it's Abdallah Sima once again!
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Well, joining us for this podcast is Billy Dodds, former Rangers striker, and John Walker, coach, analyst, host of the Scots Abroad podcast and contributor to This Is Ibrox. Hello to you all, you well?
Hi Jane, yes, Happy New Year to you. Hi John.
I have absolutely no idea why I've got a bigger roll call than Billy Dodds.
It's quite an impressive roll call, I have to say, so let's hope you live up to it, John. That's all I'm going to say to you. Lots to get through with John and Billy, but first of all, let's remind ourselves of Rangers' season so far.
Really exciting time. It was a long summer, so I'm delighted we're here to the first game of the season. It's important we start well today.
It's in! It's in! Come on, I can't for the goal! Dreadful defending from Rangers! Oh, and Goldson's just scored an own goal! PSV 5, Rangers 1 and 7-3 on aggregate. It's in! It comes off the underside of the bar! And Jack McKenzie scores! What will surely be the winning goal for Aberdeen here at Ibrox!
I think everyone realises where we are and the standards and the results need to be better.
Breaking news this evening, Rangers have sacked manager Michael Beale.
My short-term and long-term objectives are always to win.
Roof is a goal! Rangers in front again as Kemar Roof drops Tavernier's way, he shoots and scores!
You know, I think this is the start of something special for this squad of players. This is what the gaffer wants us to do. We're playing better, we're getting in the performances and we're moving from strength to strength, so we just got to continue this and keep moving forward.
Kyogo, Maida one side, decides to corner one! And what an outstanding goal that is!
Gilmans goes in, low ball across, Cantwell! Brilliant move from Rangers!
It's positive until now. Of course, there are some games and details and things that could have been better. And we're going to work hard after this short break with the players also to make them better and better.
Well, some key points there, and just to quickly summarise Rangers' season up to this point, well, they're currently second in the league following 15 wins, 1 draw and 4 defeats. With 46 points, they're 8 behind Celtic, but of course they do have those 2 games in hand. They started the season with a 1-0 defeat by Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. After beating Servette in Champions League qualifying, they lost 7-3 on aggregate to PSV, following a 5-1 hammering in Eindhoven that was quickly followed by a 1-0 win for Celtic in the league at Ibrox in the start of September. Well, that month would end with another Ibrox defeat, this time 3-1 at the hands of Aberdeen. Michael Beale was then sacked as manager shortly after that. In came Philippe Clement. He took over in mid-October and went on a remarkable 16-game unbeaten run that included winning the League Cup, of course beating Aberdeen 1-0 in the final, and finishing top of their Europa League group following a 3-2 win over Betis in Seville. Well, the impressive run came to an end when Rangers lost 2-1 to Celtic at Celtic Park. I have to say, Billy and John, when I was just going through all those points, the journey Rangers have been on from the start of the season to now, there are lots of talking points in there, Billy. How do you sum it up? Where do you see Rangers right now?
I think they have done well to recover. That would be my statement so far. You talked through the hard times in the start of the season when they were really struggling to put anything together and get a run going. And just giving the fans what the expectations are. You're at Rangers, you have to win games. It doesn't matter how you win them, as long as you're getting results and challenges your biggest rivals, and that wasn't happening. And then Europe was disappointing in terms of some of the results, the Champions League, and then obviously they have recovered brilliantly since they made the change and Michael Beale is gone. I think if you're said to any Rangers supporter, any Rangers coach, manager, anybody connected with the club, you will have won a trophy. You will have been in the last 16 of Europe, and you'll be clawing Celtic back by the second. I think they were a bit in your hands off. So the recovery for me has been phenomenal. And I know the Celtic result the other day there was disappointing, but they're in the hunt now, and that's all any Rangers fan could have asked for after the start they had.
Yeah, John, when you go through the season, from the start of the season up until the current moment, there has a lot has happened, but a lot has also turned on its head as well. Has that been the most impressive thing from your point of view watching on?
Yeah, I think the first 4 sentences you heard had me crying, going back to a very, very dark period. I can't believe that's even still the same season. I think Billy's kind of hit the nail on the head. We've done what we needed to get back in it. When we first brought Clement in, I was very much of the Alex McLeish first half season. Get the 2 cups, close a gap in Celtic, very successful season. But out of nowhere, whether it's been through Celtic falling asleep at the wheel a little bit, it's very much a title race it's on. Obviously, I'd rather have the points on the board than 2 games in hand to close it down to 2, but it's kind of been miraculous considering there's been more and more injury drop-offs since he's come in, and there's still not been a window. I still feel like I've not seen massive changes to the style. The biggest thing he keeps pleading on about is mentality and winners. That's what he keeps saying. I don't feel like I've seen a lot change on the pitch, which probably suggests something had went wrong under Beale.
Yeah, when you look at Clement's records, 18 games in charge, Billy, 14 wins, 3 draws, 1 defeat. What has he brought to the club, do you think?
A belief and a stability. I think those 2 words sometimes just cover everything, really. He had to bring a togetherness where you're going to put some sort of momentum together. And I mean, right throughout the club, whether it's within the club, just gathering everybody and getting his mindset into them and then going out and delivering on the pitch. I think that's what's happened. I'm like John, I don't see a lot of change. The one thing I would say that I think's helped Rangers, and especially defensively, they're not giving away a lot of goals, is it's back to the old school coaching. Rangers had, and you see with a lot of teams where you get 2 fullbacks who just play high and bomb forward all the time, and Rangers have got the perfect fullbacks for that, whether it's Yilmaz, Barisic, Tavernier, whoever, and it sometimes leaves the centre-halves isolated. I've noticed that they've kept a rein on them, still go forward, still choose their times, but they're keeping one of their fullbacks back, and it's old school coaching where, yeah, one goes, another one tucks round, and it's worked for them. It's made them more stabilised defensively, not giving away as many goals, and that's your platform, isn't it? That's your foundation, and I think they've built from that, and they've gained confidence and they've started scoring goals, and everybody's gone with the momentum.
John, when we were just at the start of this, you were talking through some of the lowlights, if you like. There have been highlights as well, though. Billy touched upon topping their Europa League group and obviously winning the League Cup as well. Are those the 2 kind of standouts for you?
Yeah, the Europa League one definitely for a starter. I think especially after the Aris game, because as amazing it was to top the group, we did it the hardest way possible because Betis hadn't lost at home. The Aris game, although not being disrespectful, seemed like a gimme because even though they beat us in the first leg, I thought they were rotten. I thought they were a really, really poor side. But the League Cup final was it. I think that was the biggest one where anyone that knows me knows I'm a massive James Tavernier fan, and I will fight anyone that says otherwise about him. But there was an element of me that woke up that morning and said, if he doesn't win this trophy, I'm maybe going to have the conversation about maybe there needs to be someone else that's got the mentality to push this over, because there would have been too many trophies not won. And I was listening to Derek McInnes, who did an interview recently, and he was saying that it's a bit of poker with a new team, as you'll say all the right things, but until it starts delivering on the pitch and you start winning games, it needs that for players to follow. And Clement kept talking about they had winners in the changing room. The mentality was changing. It was different from what he had seen 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks ago. So to win that trophy seemed like the one where it was just like everything was just going up, up, up. And even with the Celtic game, I still think we finished it well enough that I feel like we're right in there. But yeah, the Europa League and the League Cup final, that's the definitely the two standouts for now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the impressive thing about that as well, Billy, I think there was only, 3 days between them as well, wasn't it? It was such a physical and mentally exhausting game out in Seville as well, wasn't it?
The Betis game, yeah, it was. It was phenomenal watching it, and the performance level was good. Then they've got to come back, and they didn't play well against Aberdeen. But I bet if I asked John just now, were you caring whether they played well, or were you caring whether they brought that trophy home? I think it's an easy answer. You have to handle every game and just get what you want or need out of that game. And that's exactly what Rangers did. There's games they've not played well when I've been there, but they've still won them. You have no idea. I know we'll use the word now, using quite a lot of momentum in football, and obviously having confidence in football. That's the biggest word you can use, because you have no idea how that transpires from every day on the training ground into the games. And you're right, you can drive it in about your tactics. This is the way this club should be, all you want. If you're not getting the results, the players don't come with you. John's pointed that out. So it's so important you handle certain games. And that was such a crucial period for Philippe Clement to get results. And he did exactly that. And that's just kept going since then.
You're listening to the Scottish Football Podcast.
Well, let's talk personnel now. Michael Beale's departure obviously came really hot on the heels of that defeat at Ibrox against Aberdeen. John, was it inevitable that he had to go after that?
Oh yeah, I remember being at a wedding with my mates and seeing that result come through, and it was just like checking Twitter every hour. I was just waiting for it to happen and waiting for it to be confirmed. I don't think at that point there's anywhere else to go. I think the PSV game, we kind of settled and said, you know what, we're probably not a Champions League team. We've seen what happened when we got in that group. Let's go and have a run at the Europa League again and see how far we can get on Thursday nights. The Motherwell game was actually the one before it. The Motherwell game that we won 1-0 on the Sunday before the Aberdeen game, it was one of the worst games I'd ever watched. One of the worst games of football. And Billy's right in the fact that football's changed a little bit in the last 30 years, that fans do want to see a style, they want to be entertained, they want to see what a team's trying to do on the pitch. But when you get to certain games, cup finals and that, you just need to win. But games at home to Motherwell's where we want to see you playing football properly. And if I use the Kilmarnock example, we've seen what we were trying to do against a good Kilmarnock side. So I think it was just right for Michael Beale to move on.
Let's talk a little bit more about Philippe Clement. Billy, as a manager yourself, what do you see in him? It seems to me that he's got something about himself. Do you know what I mean? He walks into a room in that respect, is commanded as soon as he enters it almost.
Yeah, he's definitely got a persona about him where people maybe beware at times. I think when you get that and the players say, well, managers in the room, let's switch on here. I've seen it myself where some managers come in, you're thinking, I don't respect you. I just can't take to you. That's not the case. But you have to get that in there and implement that straight away. If you let standards slip and you let things just go at times, which you shouldn't, you lose that respect. And I think he's just nailed it as soon as you come in. This is what I expect. The players have wanted, then you've got to get the results with it, as we've touched on already. But then after that, you've got to sustain it. And he's done that. And I think that a thing that tells me about Philippe Clement is his interview after the Celtic game, when Kerridine asked him the question and he bit back.
Philippe, what did you make of that match? Did the better team win?
You want to get a reaction or something? Did you think that the better team win? I ask this question to you now.
I'm interested in the Rangers manager's opinion of his team performance and whether he thinks the better team won.
No, but I'm curious about what you think. Did the better team win today?
You could say that.
And I think if he maybe got Kerridine off camera, it may have been a few words said. But he shows he's got every aspect to being a top manager. The drive, the focus, the players respect him. You've got to get those results. And he'll fight his corner as well now when you see that interview.
Yeah, journalists beware everywhere, I think, for post-match interviews. Be careful, yeah. You say, John, that you haven't noticed maybe overwhelming differences, but some players look to be performing better under Clement, do they not? John Lundstrom springs to mind, for example.
John Lundstrom's night and day. I think John Lundstrom's maybe been some day in it. We're from the outside, so we don't know. So it's all a bit of perspective from what you see on the pitch. But John Lundstrom looked like somebody that needed somebody to get hold of him and really dictate and coach him what he needed to do in games. And he actually said a couple of weeks ago that Lundstrom was one of the players that takes the instruction for every individual game as to what he does and carries it out. So I don't know if there's maybe been an element of that with Lundstram where he's maybe been put out on a pitch and it's been the same as the week before. Don't worry, we're playing this way all the time. And maybe he needs somebody that needs reminding as to what he expects in each game. And that was something that Billy said is so noticeable about the fullbacks, is we always have a 2-and-2 staying back. So whether it's Tavernier goes and Yilmaz Barisic and Lundstram become the two sitting midfielders, there's always that box four sitting there so that we can't be countered on, because that's always, probably since Warburton, that feels like that's been Rangers' problem. The only person that really fixed it was Gerrard. So to see that's kind of there, and I don't know, it just seems like seeing Tavernier when he was lifting the trophy, it felt like there maybe wasn't like a personal relationship, and maybe that's something that's needed to be with this team, is somebody who's authoritative, stand off and do your job, or else you're not going to be playing for the team. And he stuck by it. He said the best players would play. Most Rangers fans would have dropped Lundstram when Beale left, and I don't think we'd pick a team without him now.
John, what have you made of the contribution of the new signings? A mixed bag, I think it's probably fair to say. Is there someone who's impressed you, others who you think maybe need a little bit more work?
Yeah, a mixed bag's a nice way of putting it for some of them, I would imagine. Butland and Sima, I would think that the names on everyone's lips. Jack Butland has been irreplaceable. I would say the biggest thing for him is the change in defensive structure, and it's been more like an Alan McGregor type Rangers, where he's only been called upon once or twice a game, sometimes only once, and it's been a vital save. It's been that concentration, but having that defensive structure, I think everything just builds up. The goalie's performing well, defenders are more comfortable, everyone gets more confidence defensive. Sima was a weird one. Sima was very much in the Dessers and Lammers bracket, where for the first 5 or 6 games I wasn't sure what we'd signed, and then he got his goal against PSV and he got a goal against Livingston in the league, and then he just seemed to be a totally different player. And Billy said that about confidence. That's why I'm always a wee bit hesitant to go too deep on players that are not performing. But Sima was one that I thought I couldn't wait to get him back to Brighton as quick as possible. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I couldn't live without him.
You're unlike many fans who they do just dive in and they just make their mind up. It's hard to change that. See when fans make their mind up, but I think that's a real credit to the player who changes the fans' mind, because I've been there myself at Aberdeen. Willie Miller always slaughters me, and then I go on and take off when Willie leaves the club. I always said it was his fault, he always said it was mine, but it happens. And by the way, look across the road, you see the boy Paolo Bernardo not got a look in, and people would have been judging him. Yeah, he's not kicked the ball. It happens, and that's why I'm like John, where you don't write them off too quickly. You never write them off, because that confidence is such a factor, and I think that's where Cyril Dessers is sitting at just now. I think there's something there. He's taking an eternity over chances he gets, and you don't get that as a striker, but that's down to confidence. I think people say, yeah, but he scored a few, so he should be kicked one now. I'm not saying he's going to make it, Rangers. Maybe he just can't handle the big club physically and mentally, especially mentally. He just looks right now, I can't handle being here. I can't handle the crowd being giving me stick. But he's got to do something, and it's just get chances, have shots quicker even if he misses them, and try to build his confidence. But I wouldn't write him off just yet. But he's on the cliff edge, isn't he?
Finally, let's look ahead, and just briefly, a couple of comments from you chaps. Just given what you've seen so far this season and the tail end of things under Clement, what are your expectations, John, for the rest of the season?
It's difficult. The Europa League run, I would like to see us go past the last 16, but it'll obviously be dependent on which Champions League teams win their playoffs. I said when Clement came in, I would have wanted both trophies. I felt those were things that were unimpacted by Beale. We were in a semi-final, but we're still in the Scottish Cup to play for. Get the 2 trophies. But unfortunately, Clement's done so well and Celtic have slipped up that I'm now going, it's back to being expecting a treble again for Rangers, because that is what you expect at the start of a season. So that's what you want now.
I think if you're asking me, Jane, I think it's definitely going all the way.
Are you expecting a treble as well?
What, are you talking drink here, or are you talking... I think Rangers fans would be, listen, over the moon with the treble. I think they'd be happy with the double, and they would give up the Scottish Cup to win the league. I think the league title is going all the way, but I think Rangers, with their running that they put in there, have poked the bear a little bit when you see this last 2 Celtic performances since they beat Rangers and then beat St Mirren. I thought they went back to their best. So I think it's going to go all the way. I can't really call it now, but I think Rangers will do brilliantly if they win the league. So a double would be brilliant, wouldn't it? It would be the League Cup and title.
Billy Dodds and John Walker, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of the Scottish Football Podcast, the mid-season Rangers report card. Thank you for listening, and remember, our email address is scottishfootball@bbc.co.uk. If there's anything you'd like to get in touch about, then just drop us an email, and we'll have a special episode on every Premiership club throughout the winter break before we return with our regular schedule. So make sure you follow and subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing. For now though, bye-bye.
Just a quick word to say the Scotland Rugby podcast is now available every Tuesday. Join me, Andy Burke and Tom English for everything you need to know about the world of Scottish rugby. Just head to BBC Sounds and subscribe to the Scotland Rugby podcast.